Hey Oz, what movie we watching this week?
Oh, we got a marriage this week. We are going to take Hot Fuzz. We're going to marry it to 1973's The Death Wheelers with just a sprinkle of Large Marge from Pee-wee's Big Adventure in there. This week we have the original 1979, is it?
Yep, 79.
Mel Gibson, George Miller vehicle, Mad Max.
Large Marge.
Well, they had the two scenes where right before there was a huge accident, their eyes just bug out of their head. And I'm like, yeah, that's got Large Marge all over it.
When you get there, tell them Large Marge sent ya.
It was a night just like tonight.
You saw her ghost.
Gulp. So, all right. Welcome back, listeners and viewers, to another week of Let's Talk About Flicks, the podcast where we take a monthly theme and we go back and forth bringing movies to said theme. I am one of your hosts, Oz.
And I am Curtis.
And we are kicking off May with Alliteration Month of Mad Max May, where we are bringing you, spoiler alert, all 4 Mad Max movies this month. Normally we keep it a secret until... We don't mention the next movie until the end of this episode, but it's Mad Max month, so
there's 4 Mad Max movies and there's 4 weeks in May this year, so
yeah. Oh, let's see.
Don't keep us in suspense.
What are we gonna do? I don't know what to listen to.
This also could be Ma month because
that's
in
true.
addition to the alliteration in 3 letters, they all start with M-A.
That is true. And then if we had a chance, maybe if we decided to do a Patreon, short episode this month, we could do the goofy horror movie Ma.
We could.
Starring, I can't think of her name.
Is it J-Law?
No.
Oh, no, that's Mother. That's right.
Yeah, that's Mother.
Okay.
Let me look it up real quick. Ma is Octavia Spencer.
Oh, okay, that's right. Yeah. Or we could do the sitcom Mom.
We could. Mm-hmm. We could. Not a good one. So before we get kicking off too much, we have a shout out to our Patreon subscribers, Melissa L. and Don S. Thank you very much for your patronage. You can always contribute to the show if you feel we are worthy of your fundage by hitting up patreon.com. You could find the link in the description of the podcast or YouTube video, however you are consuming this episode. Before we get rolling, though, I probably should give a little indicator of this very obscure horror film I referenced on the movie Marriage, The Death Wheelers. 1973, plotline: an amiable psychopathic leader of a violent teen motorcycle gang is spurred by his mother, a Satan-worshipping spiritual medium, into committing suicide and returning to life as an undead. Not a zombie, just you're back, but your soul is gone. Otherwise known as Psychomania. I have actually seen, it's a British movie. I've seen this movie a couple of times, and it has all of the zest of a early 70s British horror film. It's goofy, it's campy. For a 1973 horror film about suicide, it's rated PG.
That seems appropriate.
Yeah. Granted, it's prior to the PG-13 rating, but it's a fun movie. It really is.
It sounds fun. Yeah, with all those things you layered in there.
Well, it's creative because you've got, like I said, you've got the lead of this motorcycle gang whose mom convinces him to commit suicide so that he can come back.
Mother of the year.
So once he comes, and he does come back, and so now he's, the undead leader of this motorcycle gang full of living motorcycle gang members. And so he just eventually, convinces them all, we could do this forever, guys. It's not an undead, we want to, be an awful gang, but it's more like, we're having so much fun, man. Why don't we just off our souls and just do this for eternity? And it is. It's a goofy, fun ride. But there's a motorcycle gang in there, hence the combination of the movie Marriage.
That was a long walk we took to get there.
Yeah, well, I thought it was important that
it was worth it. It was worth it, though.
Well, had I mentioned the Death Wheelers, people would have been scratching their head. But maybe it's right there in the title of Death Wheelers.
Is that like, what is it, the Return to Oz?
Yes, with the
wheelies?
with the wheelies.
Yes, the wheelies.
Which are extremely creepy. And that will be showing up coming up in a month.
Possible future month. Yeah.
So,
hint.
Seems this is the episode where we just keep giving away our secrets.
Yep.
In Mad Max month.
Coming up July 2025.
Right. Well, looking at our list, we probably have enough material to get easily into 2024.
I think the end of the decade, we got enough.
We've got enough. On the road to 20,000.
On the road to 20,000.
So, all right, who is starring in this motion picture, and what cast members do they play, Curtis?
I would argue we really only have a couple characters of consequence. The characters,
Absolutely.
Yeah, the characters of consequence are Max Rockatansky, played by the one and only young Mel Gibson, a pre-crazy Mel Gibson, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. And I thought that too when I was watching it. I'm like, it is fun watching movie stars in their early roles before, back when they were in it for the art or at least the paycheck.
Yeah.
The exposure before they really went overboard.
Just
and
went off the deep end.
Yeah, became who they are. And so this is absolutely, I mean, it's a fun role for him.
Yeah,
it is. You could tell it's Mel Gibson, but this is run over a cop with your car, Mel Gibson. And spank her butt when she calls you out on it. Amongst other things, Mr. Gibson is known for.
Yes. I would argue the only other character that is really of consequence is Toecutter.
is May Swayze.
Yeah. Toecutter,
yes,
played by was it Hugh Byrne or Hugh Keys Byrne, I believe it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Get all those together. Who also will make another appearance later this month as well.
Yes, he does. Yes,
another teaser there. We also have Jessie Rockatansky, who's the wife of Max. We have Sprague Rockatansky, which is the name of their toddler, apparently.
It's not the name of their toddler. I looked it up. Sprague is a common colloquialism in Australia for child. So they actually don't. Apparently they never name their kid. They just refer to him as the child.
Okay.
But they use Australian slang to do so. So
is that how? And I hope I'm not being offensive via Australian dialect here
to our Australian audience.
Yes, to our Australian audiences. But how every woman in Australia is Sheila.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. It's pretty close. Yeah. That's just the slang term for woman.
Mm-hmm. So Sheila
and Sprague.
Yep.
Sheila had a Sprague. I don't know who you're talking about.
She did.
Could have been any pregnant woman in the country.
We also have Jim Goose Raines, who is Max's quasi partner-ish. I don't know. Maybe co-worker.
He's the Anthony Edwards to Mel Gibson's Tom Cruise.
It's kind of like Thor and Hulk from Thor Ragnarok. He's my friend from work.
Exactly. He's the broken-legged motorcycle riding friend.
Yes. We have this character is of no consequence, but I just wanted to say his name. We have Fifi, who is this mountain of a man who
absolutely
who's their superior at the halls of justice.
Yes, I've got that down as well. I enjoy Fifi. He reminds me very, very much of the large man who gets into a fist fight with Indiana Jones before he gets chopped up by an airplane propeller.
Yep.
That's Fifi, pretty much.
That's Dead Ringer right there. We also have a couple other characters. We have a few other members of Toecutter's gang. We have
I love them.
We have Johnny the Boy.
I love it. This comes up later in my post plot synopsis of just I love it.
Johnny the Boy. You wonder where he got his surname from. And then
I don't know.
And then we also have Bubba,
Bubba.
He's the killer of the group. He's cold and distant.
And he looks nothing like anything you would call Bubba.
Yeah.
Like, he's, it just, you think of the term Bubba, you're not thinking of what this particular actor looks like, because he's very sleek and pretty and all the things required to be who he is. But then he's named Bubba.
Bubba, yeah.
I really do. I enjoy the naming going on.
Yeah.
And George Miller, and it never goes away. Like, even when we get to, later movies where you've got Lord Humongous and the Bullet Farm, and it's just, I just love it. It's just so simple, to the point, but it's like, it's so unimportant for the characters to actually give like a legacy style of name that's just, well, that's where we get our bullets, because it's the Bullet Farm.
A Gas Town.
Gas Town and Bullet Farm, and it's just, I love it. Well, and for the viewers, it's so easy to keep track of what it is. I mean,
it's very obvious.
It's like, oh, the guy's from Bullet Farm. He must sell bullets.
Bullet Farm. That's pretty much it. So Oz, what do we got for the plot here?
Okay, very straightforward movie. Very, we talked pre-show a little bit. Very simple film, but not to diminish how much fun the movie is. We start with a police chase. The Major Force Patrol. We are a few years in the future, as the not really a tagline, but as the subtitles drop in front of us. A few years in the future. We're on a police
too far ahead, though.
No. And so the Major Force Patrol, the MFP, they're in a high-speed chase with a character who calls himself Knight Rider. And
I'm
they're
the
after him.
Knight Rider!
Right. He mentions it 17 times in the short period. I guess you just wonder, like, how does a conversation go with he and his girlfriend? Because she's in the car with him as they're getting away. They've murdered a cop.
Yep.
And they're on the run. And so we've got a couple of different chases. They're calling all units, kind of thing. And we see a couple of cops in pursuit, and it fails. And we see a couple of motorcycle cops in pursuit, and it fails. And it's just a straight banger of an action police chase. You've got crashed vehicles left and right. I mean, it's full on. And so, nobody can catch Knight Rider. He's on this route. They try to shoot him down. They're very
inept police officers.
Yeah, and so
Goose gives it the old college try on his motorcycle.
He does. But at the same time, every time they fail, like they're cracking jokes. And,
Like the one guy has like a big neck wound, and the other guy's like, better get the meat wagon down here to patch him up.
Send the meat wagon, and and then later we see him talking through a voice recorder.
Yeah, he's Ned from South Park.
There you go. I couldn't remember his name, but it was like Ned. Send the baby. And so as Knight Rider's getting away, nobody can stop him. But we haven't reached out to Max yet. And so we get kind of this cool, like, unveiling. We see his car. We see his elbow on the window. Yeah. It's like you don't get a full-on view.
Leather-clad outfit.
Yeah. So we're getting a slow reveal of Max. And, of course, Max, he joins the pursuit. It's Max versus Knight Rider. And Max wins. Knight Rider ends up dying in a fiery crash. Not before his eyes literally bug out of his head, before he gets in an accident.
Well, he freaked out.
Oh yeah. It's like
he freaked out.
Yeah, Max got him distracted, and so that was the end of Knight Rider and his woman. So
his Sheila.
His Sheila.
Sheila.
It's. If we weren't as empathetic and sensitive, I think we probably should have tried to do this entire episode with Australian accents, but I don't think that would have worked very well. No,
it's a good thing we're so empathetic and altruistic.
Because we've got killer Australian accents.
Yeah, everybody loves them. I'll just go days without breaking accent, and people are convinced I'm from Australia.
Oh my God! Do you know the Irwins? So
Mick Dundee.
Back at the halls, back at the Halls of Justice, which is just a gutted brick building.
I love how the halls of justice are literally crumbling.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and so Max is shown problem solved. Like, you could tell, you get the vibe. This is not like a municipal police force. This appears to be a group of justice seekers. Really, that's how I get it. Yeah. And they just group together, and they're for the greater good. Because, like, they just, Knight Rider kills a cop, and they go and pursue, and they end up killing Knight Rider, and there's like, okay, back at the halls of justice. Yeah. There's no paperwork, and they just leave the body. Like, you see, like, crashes happen, and they just drive away from them. Like, problem solved.
Well, society is really kind of on the brink of collapse here, and it hints around it. You don't get any real backstory on the characters, let alone what's going on, and like why this police station is just a shell of a building. And
you really see no like organized communities. I mean, it's just there's businesses, but they're just kind of there. And so, it is give a hint of apocalyptic feel without laying it straight out in like overgrown cities that are, like a Wall-E or an I Am Legend. It's like, it's not the end of man.
Yeah, it's not there yet, but it's trending that way.
Yeah, that things have broken and starting to break down. And this is a group that I think is trying to hold on to some justice. And so, they bring, Max is back, and the, his cue, I guess, really feels like in the James Bond world of the gadget guy, the garage guy. He's showing off like a supercharged, V8 like pursuit car, like an interceptor car.
Yeah, the last of the V8s.
Yeah, and so
probably also has the last of the V8 juice.
That's what it runs on. He says it's nitrous. But, Sprague, Sheila, like, they have all kinds of different terminology. I think the nitrous term in Australia, it just means V8 juice.
Yeah. It's basically tomatoes and onions and green peppers, right. And it's just blended together, just pureed. Yeah.
And it's one serving of your vegetables per can. And so, Max is being shown this car, and he's in love with it. He wants to get out and drive it. Then we kind of cut to Fifi, who never appears to have a shirt on.
No. That's it. They've really had to scale back their budget.
Well, if I was built like him, I probably wouldn't have a shirt on very often either.
True.
And so,
brick wall.
Fifi's talking to some, just kind of police chief, commissioner-esque mayor, who knows. And it turns out that this vehicle, is more of a bribery tool to kind of keep Max around. They kind of get the idea that Max, who, we haven't seen yet as having a family, but Max is married and they have a child. Like, you kind of, it's kind of this underlying theme through the movie that he's ready to walk away from MFP. He's ready to be done.
And Fifi realizes that he's really the only one. Max is the only one who's competent at his job.
Right. Yeah. And hence the, Hot Fuzz reference of he's the best cop on the force. He's the Nicholas Angel of what we've got going on. He's the best one they've got, and so we've got to keep him on the force because he's the only one that could get the job done. So this car turns out to be a bribe, and that's it for the car. We don't see the car for quite a while. Cut to Toecutter's, Max goes home, we meet his wife, we see his kid, it's just more of just kind of a character expansion, really, of like, you see Max is not just cop. He's also got this, this family, fatherly side to him. So then we see this town, it's very Blazing Saddles, where Mongo and where the crew comes riding into town. Toecutter's motorcycle.
A whomping and a whooping.
What in the wild world of sports is going on here? So, Toecutter and his movie punk motorcycle gang, they come riding into town. Really, they're there because Knight Rider's corpse has been delivered from, via the train. and they're there to pick it up. They cause a lot of damage. This is the first time we meet Toecutter, and he's crazy. Like, you could tell, he's just out there. But his motorcycle gang appears to be like 20, 25 people large. And they all have their own little thing. You can tell they're all crazy.
Yeah.
They ride in.
Yeah, they're taking advantage of this society on collapse. And
absolutely.
establishing their dominance in their territory.
You know, they're causing a lot of damage in town. There's one couple that, you know, they're going to get out of there. You know, that there's just kind of this younger, you know, boyfriend-girlfriend couple, you know. They hightail it out of town, almost run Toecutter over. So instead of letting bygones be bygones, Toecutter and the gang hop on their motorcycles, chase him down. You know, they run the car off the road and then just destroy the car like it's a bonus level of Street Fighter 2. They just go to town on this car.
Yeah, they do.
It's not Stephen King's Christine where it's going to repair itself when it's done. But they took the jaws of life to this thing. You know, and they beat the couple up. They rape them. They leave them. You know, so it's called everything in this movie is like on the highway.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, everything.
You know, well, and it is what it is. So, you know, the MFP is called. Max and Goose show up. You know, as they're driving, and it's a disturbing little bit that I missed the first couple times. But as Max and Goose are driving, they see the guy from the wreck, you know, running through a field, and they're just calling after him, "Hey, you're a turkey," you know, like. Yeah. But it's like it was disturbing because he's running and he's bottomless. He doesn't have any pants on, and you could tell, like, because they show his crack, and it's very red. Yeah. And it was really like the first couple times I watched the movie, I missed it, but this time I watched it. And I was like, oh, you know, like without saying what happened to this guy, you get a sense of what happened to this guy.
Clearly traumatized, physically, emotionally, yes.
Oh, absolutely. So they show up to the wreckage. The girlfriend is in equal shape. You know, she's chained to the car, and nobody's there but Johnny the boy. You know, and he's just like apparently drunk or drugged out of his mind. Yeah. You know, and they take him in, and, you know, they're basically waiting for justice to be served. None of the townsfolk, none of the rape victims, nobody shows up at the trial. So they've got nothing to hold him on. So they got to release him.
Toecutter sends Bubba to go get him, Yeah.
Toecutter knew this was going to happen because, like I said, like you just said, he sent Bubba to go retrieve him. And Goose is just outraged. There's no way that he's walking out of here without punishment. And so he attacks Johnny, you know, and Fifi and Max are trying to hold him back, you know, but Goose is outraged.
Yeah, he believes in the system, and he wants the system to work. But again, the system, just like society, is broken. They can't hold him.
Unfortunately, you know, Goose struck the first blow. This was really the catalyst for the whole remainder of the movie, was this incident at the Halls of Justice. I think if Goose would have just let it go, they probably would have ridden away and had not been there. However,
it wouldn't have made for much of a movie at this point.
No. So, you know, fast forward to that evening, Goose is at a nightclub watching somebody who's a better singer than Linda Hamilton.
It's not a high bar to clear.
No, it's not. It's not at all. But it reminded me of the scene in Lost in Translation where they're all singing karaoke.
Oh, yep.
And so Goose is at a nightclub, and while he's there, and he's just infatuated with the singer, somebody's outside tampering with his police motorcycle. Goose ends up crashing it with the woman. Next morning, he gets up, gets on his bike, and everything's working fine. Like, I'm waiting for the bike to explode or something. No, I mean, he's driving. Now he's back out on the highway where everything seems to happen, and the bike just locks up. He gets thrown from the bike, somehow doesn't get injured, which is kind of funny. You know, he flags down a tree, like commandeers a vehicle. You know, just this beat up, like there's no hood on this truck. Yeah. Talks to the guy, hey, you know, I'm going to take this truck. I'm going to take my motorcycle back. I'll bring your truck back or whatever. Well, you know, it's not enough. I mean, you know, Goose didn't get injured with the first bike tampering, but Toecutter and his gang are ready. You know, Johnny the boy tosses like a brake drum off a hill and like crashes through the windshield. It was a pretty cool scene.
It was a great throw. able to
Yeah,
time
it really
that
was.
just right.
You
I
know,
mean, kudos
well,
to
and
Johnny
even
the boy.
Yeah, it had nothing to do with the editing, but even that, can you imagine though, like even on set, like he chucked a brake drum,
Yeah.
even if it didn't hit the truck, it looked like it was going to hit the truck.
Mm-hmm.
To where if you're the stunt driver of that truck, like don't worry, we're gonna chuck a brake drum at the windshield
As you're driving
Just
50,
keep
50
driving.
miles an hour. Yeah, you'll be fine.
Right.
You'll be fine.
Just keep driving. Which of course causes the truck to crash, and so Toecutter and his gang are on him. The truck's upside down on its hood.
Yeah.
Fuel
everywhere.
Goose can't escape. And Toecutter, again, he's clearly crazier than everybody. He's there and he asks Johnny for a light. Johnny lights his lighter. Nope, I want this match lit. So he lights a cigarette, blows it out. Well, then Toecutter has him light another match. And that's when Johnny realizes that Toecutter wants him. I want you to kill that man.
Yep.
I want you to light him on fire. And Johnny is very resistant.
Yeah. He doesn't quite pick up on what's going on. And you could tell he's hesitant at best to light a man on fire.
And to be fair, he really didn't light him on fire. Like, they were kind of fighting over it, and he dropped the match and lit the grass on fire. And long story short, Goose is now in the ICU with 4th degree burns, 5th degree burns. I don't know.
Lots of degrees.
It's bad. He looks like, what was the name of that big fire demon at the beginning of
Surtur.
Ragnarok?
Surtur.
Yeah, it's like Surtur without the horns.
It's a crown.
And oh, I love that one. So Max comes in, takes a glimpse at him, and he's just, that's it. He pushed him to the edge of his sanity.
Yeah, a switch gets flipped.
Yeah, Max goes to Fifi. I'm done. I'm done.
I'm out.
I quit. I'm out of here. Fifi convinces him, you know what? No, Max, I understand. Take a vacation. Get away from here. Go on vacation. Regroup. Come back. And if you want to still quit, I support you 100%. But let's not jump to conclusions. Things are emotional right now. So Max does. Max takes Jesse and the boy, and they head on a trip. They get in this red panel, station wagon looking thing, and they're just basically they're dressed nice.
National Lampoon's Vacation.
Right. Holiday Roads playing, like Max has a beer with the kid.
They stop at East St. Louis.
Right, head to Wally World. Long drive, but Wally World, Melbourne is where they're headed.
Yeah, it's Melbourne, big tourist destination for Wally World aficionados.
And so Max and his, they stop at this little tire shop. I don't know. They stop because they had some tire problems, and they're fine. They stop. Max gets out they stop and get a dog on the way, and they're just happy.
That's what you do when you're on vacation. You get a new dog.
Yep. Especially when you're just on the road.
Yeah.
Nowhere for that dog to run. So they just stop. Max is going to get a tire fixed or whatever, and Jesse's like, "Hey, I'm going to take Sprague. We're going to go up the road and get some ice cream." No, again, everything seems harmless.
Yeah.
They pull up to this little ice cream shop or whatever, and Toecutter's gang happens to be in the area. So it's just dumb luck. Just absolutely dumb luck. So, the gang is like, there's a female and a baby. This looks like a main course and dessert. This is going to be great. Mm-hmm. Like, just ruthless people. And so Toecutter, he approaches Jesse, starts licking her ice cream very disturbingly.
Yeah.
She kind of smiles and then knees him in the groin, hop in the car, they get out of there. Like, one of the other guys, like, he's got a chain wrapped around his wrist and, like, throws it and it grabs the luggage rack and just rips his hand off. Like, it's...
Whoopsie.
I didn't think that. Like, what was he going to do? Like, was he going to dig his heels in and make the car stop?
Say that. I just got to get them heels in there.
Right.
I'm going to hold back this 2-ton machine.
I got this. So she pulls back up to the tire place. Max, get in. Trust me. They take off. Like, no harm, no foul. Mm-hmm. Of course, Toecutter and the gang, they're in pursuit. But Max and Jesse have enough of a head start that they get away. They're headed to May Swayze's, which I can only assume is Patrick's grandmother, maybe his aunt. but they're headed to May Swayze's place. They're just going to hang low
somewhere in the Swayze family tree.
Yeah. It's probably not a grandmother because she's in Australia, and I don't think Patrick's Australian. So they get to May's, and again, things are relaxed. Max is working on the car, like they're just relaxing again. Max tells Jesse, I never told my dad how much I loved him, and now it's too late. I don't want to make that mistake with you. Like, crisis averted. Like I said, he's working on the car. She wants to go down to the beach, which seems to be 7 miles away.
Yeah, what a hike to get there.
No kidding. She's going through like an entire national forest to get to the beach. It's probably, and so, and we see Toecutter's gang in the, they're out in the wood, but they're not like attacking her. They're messing with her.
They're just kind of stalking her.
And I love, I mentioned this again later. I love the editing choices made here of, we see, 5 seconds of her going into the water, and then it kind of dissolves into Toecutter's gang driving their motorcycles up on the top of the cliff, dissolve to her coming out of the water, dissolve to her taking a nap. So we're looking at 15 to 20 seconds worth of footage here, but it's told it's told a long time worth of story. And I love it when that happens in movies. It doesn't happen very often. I feel like we either get long drawn out scenes in movies, or we get like music video cuts where we have to fit 300 shots in the next 7 seconds, and and this just I really like that. I like that dissolve cut. It just just kind of flows and fades into the next little bit, and you get the vibe. Like, we don't need, George Miller did not want to show us Jessie swimming by herself.
No, what's the point?
Got the point. We got the point across. Yeah. She'd been there for a while.
Yeah, it wouldn't have pushed the narrative or the story.
No,
it would have just. She took a swim. She took a nap. Next, that's all you need.
Yeah,
to know.
and I loved it because again, like, we get the vibe that time has passed, and again, we know Toecutter's gang is around, but they're not messing with her. Like, and so it adds to that suspense of like, oh man, like they've had time to plan. So again, she's no worse for wear. The dog gets up and runs off. And she starts heading back up through Yosemite Park to get back to May Swayze's place, and she starts hearing things in the woods, and then she starts seeing people in the woods. She realizes who she's seeing in the woods. She's taken off at a run, and then she runs into some character that we've never met before.
No, some kind of problematic in a way, just a simple man.
Yeah. It's just very oafish, and he's disturbing at first glance. Like, he's clean. He's not one of the biker gang, but we've never seen the guy. She runs into him and then runs past him or whatever. Starts yelling for Max, who grabs a gun, and he's going to go check things out. Well, the timing's off, because they're much closer to May's farm than he is to the woods. Mm-hmm. So in the meantime, while he's headed out to the woods with Mr. Weirdo,
with Sloth from the Goonies.
Yeah, without the face dysmorphia. I do love the way he runs, though. He just kind of drops his arms to his side. Just lumbers. Yeah. Yeah, very much. It looks like he's always about to fall over.
It's all legs. He's not pumping those elbows at all.
No. Well, and Max leaves them in the dust. So. No.
He's a distance runner, not a sprinter.
Right. Don't worry, Max. I've made the run down to the beach several times. You're going to run out of stamina soon.
The trick is you don't move your arms.
Save the arms for when you need them, Max.
That's how you run a 1,600 meter, by the way, Oz.
Right.
Take it from me. There's no arms involved. It's all legs.
Absolutely.
And you want to lean forward as far as you can, too.
Right. In case the finish line sneaks up on you, you're ready for it.
It helps
got the lean in place.
It helps decrease wind resistance.
Right. Exactly. You don't see cars driving straight up and down, do you?
No, they don't use their arms.
They're vertical. You ever seen an airplane use its arms?
Yeah, the wings don't move. That's the point. This guy knew what he was doing.
Which is faster, birds or airplanes? Birds flap their wings, airplanes don't. So that's why they're faster.
Checkmate.
It's science. So Jesse gets back up to May's farm and she's clearly in hysterics. May gets her calmed down, and once she starts to calm down, she realizes, where's the baby?
Uh-oh.
She goes out to where they left the baby, who they just leave him out in a field. And the baby, of course, is gone. And May finds that Toecutter and his gang are now there.
They're there.
Max is off in the woods looking for trouble.
They ran the old they ran the old Statue of Liberty play.
They did. They tricked him.
Yep.
As you would say. So Jesse is like, just give me back the baby. Well, then May shows up, Shotgun May here, and she pulls a double barrel shotgun on 6 people.
Yep.
And she does. I love Toecutter's reaction when she shows up with the gun.
just that insincere like
yeah. Oh, I'm so scared.
Yeah, that is
she's got a deadly.
Yeah.
She has a deadly weapon, and you're so insane you could care less. Like, whatever.
Yeah, just a great fake panic take.
Yeah, she does get them to go into the garage or go into to the barn. She locks the barn door. She and Jesse and the baby hop in the car and off they go. Of course, it doesn't take long for all of these biker gang members to kick down the door. Mm-hmm. So then they hop on their motorcycle. Well, Max is deep enough in the woods that when May does she shoots a barrel to let him know she's serious. Well, he hears the gunshot and realizes, let's get back to the house. So Jesse's gone in the car. Toecutter and gang hop on their motorcycles and they're in pursuit. Max is still sprinting back from the woods. Jesse's got a pretty decent head start. Mm-hmm. And then the car overheats in the middle of the highway.
Well, Max was working on it earlier.
Yeah,
and he didn't get a chance to finish.
No, and so May is like, I'm gonna stay here. I'll keep because they see the biker gang coming. Yeah. So she tells Jesse, take the baby and run. I'll keep the biker gang at bay. Jesse does what any smart person who's trying to hide would do: runs directly down the middle of the road.
Yep.
Right. It's very Game of Thrones-esque where she doesn't even zigzag. She just runs. Don't hide in the ditch. There's tall grass everywhere.
Yeah.
Don't hide. Just run.
May should have been yelling, "Serpentine! Serpentine!"
Right. Zigzag! But she doesn't. May's, she's got her. And the motorcycle gang they don't even hesitate. They just drive right past. And they just mow down Jesse and the baby.
In the classic,
don't even stop.
Yeah, in the classic shot from this film, they drive from left to right through the frame, and you just see was it a little toddler shoe and a ball just kind of tumble into the frame.
Absolutely,
and that's all you need to know.
As they just buzz right on past. If you're trying to get a visual of what Curtis there is describing. It's very much like when Gage gets run over by the semi and Pet Cemetery. Now, of course, we're not going to see a child hit by a semi, mm-hmm. but we do see his shoe just go tumbling through the frame, and we get the vibe that, he's lost a shoe, and he dropped a shoe and dropped his ball. No, they don't make it.
Yeah.
Somehow Max has the speed of a cheetah.
He's got sprinter speed.
Because he is on the scene immediately. He knows where they've gone. This comes up later too. So I don't want to elaborate too much. But Max shows up on the scene, realizes his child is dead. His wife is super injured.
Yeah, she ends up critically injured.
Yeah, she does end up succumbing to the injuries in the hospital. He overhears the doctors talk. The doctors are even like, go out and tell him that she's going to be fine.
Not the best bedside manner there.
No.
Pretty insensitive doctors.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, just go tell her go tell him she'll be okay. Well, of course, he's eavesdropping.
He's standing right there. Right outside the door.
Yeah, you could see his shoulder if you actually look that way, because he wasn't hiding very well. And so he's now that edge of sanity that he was at Goose's death he's beyond the cliff now. Yeah. He's over it. He goes back to his house. I'm assuming he just sprinted back to his house.
Yeah, I mean, you don't see how he got there, but I mean, the car wasn't working. It's either
and we see him sprinting up to his house wearing the same clothes he just had on at the hospital.
I mean, he could have.
I'm guessing
he could have caught a ride from the local oaf.
I don't think the ambulance even took him with Jesse to the hospital. I think he just chased the ambulance to the hospital. He's a Robert Patrick and T2 this entire scene.
Have you seen this boy?
Which hospital are you going to? Oh, St. George. Okay, I'll meet you there. And he just takes off sprinting.
You want to ride? Nah, I'm good.
Gotta get my steps in. I would love to see a foot race between Max Rockatansky and Bert.
Peter Horton. Yep, I do. That's where you're going. Peter Horton.
Children of the Corn. Children of the Corn, not Pet Cemetery. I'd love to see a foot race between these two.
I bet you Max would outsprint him. I got a feeling that Bert from Children of the Corn can throw a tighter spiral, though.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I bet Bert's got endurance because of his injury, he only moves one arm.
Yeah.
And so he's gonna have more endurance.
Yes, going by the
two arms
laws
sprint
we just established. A one arm sprint is not ideal, but it's better than a 2-arm sprint.
It's better than a 2-arm sprint. So Peter Horton, and I think Peter Horton's probably taller, and we've already heard Max reference how he had a hard time keeping up with his dad, who had a longer stride. And so I think Bert's got that to his advantage too. My money's on Bert over Max here.
I think so. Bert's the natural athlete.
Mm-hmm. Well, and in Children of the Corn, Bert is chasing down because he knows that whatever her name was in the movie, I can't think of what her name was. It doesn't
Linda
matter.
Hamilton's character.
Hamilton's character.
Our great singer there, Linda Hamilton.
Right. That he knows she's still alive, so there's that motivation. Whereas Max knows that his loved ones are not, so he doesn't have that burning desire that Peter Horton likely does. But Peter Horton, if you and Mel Gibson are listening, we would love to have you on the show. And because if there's anything Curtis and I have experience at, it's vocalizing physical things in an auditory medium.
Yeah.
We have a history of all the guests we used to have on the radio show.
Yep.
Like all the arm wrestling tournaments that we would commentate in our radio show.
Nothing makes great radio like doing play-by-play of an arm wrestling tournament.
Yeah, and we did. We did it. And we got giant burritos out of the deal.
Yes, we did. So. We did get giant burritos.
So, yeah, Mel and Peter, if you guys are listening and you're not busy, we'd love to have you on the show.
You know what we should do with them, Oz? We should basically run them through like the NFL Combine drills.
Or American Ninja Warrior.
There
one
you
of
go.
The two.
Yeah. Like a 3-cone shuttle drill.
Yeah, right. Yeah, just to test their lateral quickness.
Yeah. You gotta.
It is NFL
tests.
Draft time.
Uh-huh. Yeah, today.
Give them a Wonderlic test.
As of the day of the Wonderlic, as of the day of this recording, it's the 2022. Was it the rounds 4 through 7?
Yeah. Yes, rounds 4 through 7 of the NFL Draft.
Yep.
So we're Mr. Irrelevant will be drafted.
Yep. And as of the time of this recording, it's probably about Mr. Irrelevant time.
Yeah, what a kind name for the last pick of the NFL Draft. We're going to call you, of all of the athletes that have dreamed to be drafted in the NFL, the last one is called Mr. Irrelevant. Mm-hmm. Like, what about all the people who didn't get drafted? Like,
yeah. They're more relevant.
The guy, or my favorite here in my stream of consciousness is how Mr. Irrelevant will likely not make the roster, but there'll be some undrafted guys that do make a roster, which further makes him even more irrelevant.
I think Mr. Irrelevant was an early tag team partner of Mr. Perfect.
I think so. He just never got tagged in.
No, because he's irrelevant. Although
in fact, he never even came to ringside.
He got a little more action when he was tagging with Mr. Wonderful.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. But Mr. Irrelevant was responsible for picking up the piece of gum that Kurt Hunting slapped out of the air.
Go get that. I need that. I need that for tomorrow night's house match.
Right. That was his claim to fame. Anyway, back to the apocalypse.
back to Mad Max.
Max has lost it. He's back at home. He grabs his leather police gear. He heads back to the halls of justice. For the first time, we see him hop in the V8 Interceptor. And he's a man on a mission.
The Pursuit Special.
Yes.
The name of that V8 Interceptor.
Yeah. He's on a mission now. He's going to single-handedly take out the gang. Which, spoiler alert, he does.
Yep. In pretty efficient manner.
Very much so. Like, I wouldn't even call this like the last third of the movie, because it's like the last 15 minutes of the movie. He kills a group. It's actually a really cool scene, and it's a precursor to other very favorite things of the series. We come up on a group of bikers that one of them is driving very slowly in front of a semi-tanker full of fuel, and the others jump off a cliff polecat style, which I love that. Basically pole vault themselves onto the top.
Fun scene, especially like for the late 70s. Knowing that was all like actual stunts.
Practical. Yeah. So, no green screen, no
harnesses,
no crash mats. It's just you need to pole vault on top of this
onto
semi.
This moving
Don't
semi.
worry, it's driving slow, but we need you to do it anyway. And they siphon the gas out. They're filling some gas. Like, they're just stealing gas from a tanker. Once they leave, Max runs them off a bridge. Like, they're assuming they're dead. He's taken out a group of them at once. Come across where Toecutter and Bubba are faking Max out. They have a bike laying down in a pasture, and so Max pulls up to it and recognizes it's one of Toecutter's gang. Well, then Max gets shot in the leg
just out of nowhere, and
then Toecutter and Bubba are there, riding up. Max is reaching for his sawed-off shotgun. They run over his arm with the motorcycle. But they made the mistake. They didn't take a headshot. They just leave Max to die.
Yeah, Bubba's just kind of toying with him, and Toecutter's finish the job.
Right, you get it done. You can tell, especially there was a scene, or a very quick scene earlier where Toecutter and Bubba are hopping on their bikes back at that tire shop, because we come to realize that the guy who was fixing Max's tire earlier is in with the gang.
Yeah,
but we didn't know it at the time, because he wasn't doing anything to promote. Jesse and Toecutter crossing paths at the ice cream shop just happened organically. The tire shop guy seemed fine. There was no indicator that he was trying to set these things up. At least I didn't get anything from it.
No, not initially.
But he's fixing Toecutter's bike or whatever, and when he goes to pick it up, he goes to put his helmet on, and two pictures fall out, a picture of Goose and another picture of Jesse and the boy.
So Max is now stalking them.
Yeah, it's like Toecutter, when May pulled a shotgun on him, faked fear, and with this just pictures falling out of his helmet, Toecutter, you could see, he's nervous.
He got
There's
spooked.
A look of it legit spooked him here. And like you said, Toecutter's trying to get Bubba to finish the job. It ends up not working. Max, Bubba's taken care of. He's chasing down Toecutter. Again, kind of very reminiscent of the Knight Rider scene earlier.
Yeah, there is kind of a loop to it.
Max is toying with him enough to get him distracted and not paying attention to the road, and just gets nailed head on collision with a semi. Not before his eyes bug out of his head,
large
Knight Rider did. Like you said, a very loop here of what Max does. We see the semi run over the bike, run over the body. They're not cutting, they're not, not splicing in footage. It's just you're running over, obviously not a human being. But it was still a cool effect. And so all that's left now is Johnny the boy.
Johnny the boy.
I don't even think Max is keeping track of his kill list or anything. He comes across another wreck on the highway as where all these things happen, and Johnny the boy is trying to steal the boots off of the accident victim. There's really no indicator that Johnny the boy caused the accident or anything, but he's trying to steal the boots off of him.
Yep.
Yeah. And Max pulls up. how he snuck up on him, I'm not sure, considering we know Max is very wounded. You're dragging his bum leg around, but he sneaks up on Johnny the boy as he's trying to put these boots on, drops some cuffs in his lap, has him handcuff his ankle to the vehicle. Of course, there's fuel running everywhere.
Yep.
And Max, takes a lighter, lights it, tapes it to the car, and tells it, basically gives him the saw treatment.
Yeah.
Of, here's a hacksaw. It's going to take you 10 minutes to get through the handcuffs, or maybe 5 minutes to get through your ankle. Your choice. And then he just leaves.
Just walks away.
And, walks away, gets in the car, starts driving off. He doesn't make it 2 minutes, and everything blows up. And credits.
That's it. That's Mad Max.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't want to mess with Mad Max, especially if you've made him mad. That's the worst time. This movie wouldn't have been near as cool if it was just called Max.
Yeah. Max.
And it was just called Max, and Goose leaves Johnny the boy alone. Everybody goes their separate ways, and Max just enjoys his vacation with his family. No, not as near a good a movie.
The working.
Now that you've made him mad,
It's Mad Max.
Yeah,
I think the working title for this movie was Max and Me.
I think it was. It was, especially once he got his leg wounded and they put him in a wheelchair.
Yeah. and he was just learning how to use that handbrake on it and tumbled off the cliff.
Yeah, if you're not careful.
Brian Fantana was there too.
Right. That's how Max in the wheelchair made it through the woods and ended up off the cliff into the beach. So, yeah, Mad Max inspired Mac and Me.
Yep. There's a direct correlation between those two movies. So,
absolutely.
At this point in the show, Oz and I give our own unique rating to the film we've been yapping about. This in this case being Mad Max. Oz, how would you rate 1979's Mad Max?
I would give this movie 9 times the amount of movie punk biker gang members that it has. How about you?
I'm going to go with this movie gets a rating of 1 man out for revenge.
Charles Bronson?
Yep.
I give this movie 1 Charles Bronson.
1 Bronson. It's 1 Bronson. Which is a high bar.
Bronson, not Charles Bronson, but Bronson Pinchot.
Bronson Pinchot.
That one.
He gets 1 Balky.
1 Balky. He gets 1 Bartakamoose. He's Australian, right?
Yeah, sure he is. Hey, Pinchot, I think that's an Australian name. That goes way back.
Oh, I was thinking Bartakamoose.
Oh, Bartakamoose. Oh, yeah. Definitely Australian. I think that's Tasmanian, actually.
I think so. I think you're right.
He's Tasmanian native.
Right.
All right, as we start to wrap things up, we got the 3, 2, 1, where Oz and I shared 3 goods, 2 bads, and 1 about the movie we've been talking about, 1979's George Miller directed Mad Max. Oz, what are your 3 goods?
My first one, and I'm gonna drop it all now so it doesn't show up as a good the rest of the month. I love, and I mentioned earlier, the simple yet effective namings that George Miller gives anything in his story. In this movie, we've got, Halls of Justice, Toecutter, Johnny the Boy, Rockatansky, Knight Rider. In future films, we've got Lord Humongous. Like we mentioned, Gas Farm or Gastown, Bullet Farm, War Boys. They just work. I don't know why they work, but it just
does. Yeah, it's just fun.
Yeah, it's just so I guess it's just a simple look of what civilization's gonna be like in George Miller's future. Of things are gonna be dire, and we don't have time to come up with names. They farm bullets over there. That's the bullet farm. And in this case, it's the Halls of Justice. And like you said, literally crumbling. The sign, like the lettering is all askew. Yeah. Like it's like the entrance to like a really old, dilapidated cemetery where like the lettering's all messed up. And it's just Halls of Justice. And you're like, yeah, there's like 7 of you and 6 of you can't get the job done. So that's my first good. It's just the fun naming.
What do you think Toecutter's given name is?
Bill.
Bill.
I think so.
Bill Cutter.
Bill Foster.
Bill Foster.
He's Australian. It's Foster.
Fosters. He's from the long line of Fosters.
Bubba's is probably like, like Timothy Outback or Johnny the Boys is just Jonathan Dundee.
Yes.
That's their given names. It's probably
Jonathan Boy Dundee.
Right? Exactly. So, but yeah, Toecutter's given name. Yeah,
Bill Foster.
I'm assuming he used to. We don't see him cut toes off in this movie, but when he was probably just an up and comer biker gang leader, that's probably what his MO was, just cutting toes off.
Had like a necklace of human toes at one point.
Right. He's a former ballet instructor, Toecutter.
In the unnecessary Marvel reference, Bill Foster is the name of is that Lawrence Fishburne's character in Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Ant-Man and the Wasp, yeah. Before, what was he was a Giant Man?
Giant Man, yes.
Giant Man.
Giant Man, yep.
So that was my first good. Just the fun naming of just simple, easy to keep track of, but fun. My second is just George Miller's way, and I mentioned it earlier, of passing time very quickly, with dissolve cuts, providing just enough footage that you know what the character's doing, but what they're going to be doing is a time-consuming thing. So we're not going to show them doing it. We're going to start. We see Jesse start to go into the water. Then we see Jessie come out of the water. Okay, she's been swimming. We see a little bit of her swimming as we see Toecutter and his gang rolling up at the top of the cliff. So, like, that's our watch Jessie swimming portion. But it wasn't about her. It was about Toecutter showing up. We see her taking a nap. We see the dog run away. Then we see her napping by herself. We even see at the end when Max is going back to get the V8, there's like a really low camera shot of the parking garage, and we see him walking in the middle of the frame, and then he fades away as the Interceptor starts driving towards us. So we didn't need to see him get in the car and start flipping switches, and so I really like that filmmaking choice of we're not trying to pad our runtime, we're just almost like we're going to constrict it. We want to make sure we have the time to show what we want to show, and we'll show you enough to get the point across without boring you with watching her take a nap.
Would you rather watch Jesse nap for 20 minutes or watch Max run some people off the road in the Pursuit special? Right.
Both pieces are, they add obviously to this story, but one of them is definitely what we're here to watch. And so I really like those choices. It's just being aware of what the audience is going to what they're going to appreciate.
Yeah.
And so that's, I guess, too, just kind of an amendment to this one a little, is being aware of what your audience is going to want to watch. Like, some filmmakers get out there and they make the movie they want to watch, and some of the choices they make are selfish choices, not necessarily audience-centered choices. And I feel George Miller's like, we're going to make this movie, and we know which parts are going to be a little dry, so we're going to kind of limit those to get the point across and expand on the parts that people want to see. Wreckage. Plenty of wreckage. So that's my second good. My third one, movie punks. I love a good movie punk. At 70s and 80s were great at movie punks. You got the movie punks in Mad Max. You've, of course, got the movie punks in The Warriors. You got the movie punks in Return of the Living Dead.
Yep, I was waiting for you to go Return of the Living Dead.
I love a good movie punk. Love a good movie punk. So those are my three goods. What about you?
Those are good ones. My three goods. I love the music and the score in this movie.
Like
it's there. Whoever I forget who composed it, but like the brass hits hard. In these really tense moments.
I think it was a partnership of Howard Shore and John Williams. They came together.
Is that what it was? Williams and
with a little Danny Elfman mixed in. That's why we got the Large Marge sequence.
Yeah, Williams, Shore, and Elfman, attorneys at law.
Yeah.
But just a great score that again, they know how to hit when the tension's up. They know how to kind of lay the groundwork with string sections, and again, especially for a movie on this budget, the scoring is great.
Oh yeah. Well, and to add to it a little, like, it's this movie's over the top. they're not literally. We're not covering Sylvester Stallone's arm wrestling.
Yeah, speak
movie
our second arm wrestling reference.
Yeah, sorry. But the just the storylines over the top, the characters over the top, and so the score I feel is equal in that regard.
Yeah.
We see some reaction shots like when Jessie comes around the side of the car and she sees the chain holding the hand, and like her reaction shot was very like telenovela, like but the music swelled with it, so that her reaction didn't feel over the music. The music was right there with it. And Max had one too when he pulls back the sheet to see Goose in his left the hamburgers on the grill too long look. We don't see it, but we see his reaction to it, which is very extreme and over the top, but the music's right there with it. And so I agree with you. I thought the score was great. It met the actors where they needed to be, and it wasn't it was perfect. I agree with you.
My second good is Hugh Keays-Byrne as Toecutter.
Again,
I
left him off because I was hoping you'd take him.
Yep. Thank you. You're very gracious. But yeah, his performance as Toecutter is just great, and it's over the top when it needs to be over the top. It's understated when it needs to be understated, and I almost kind of wish there was a little more Toecutter in there just because the performance is so great. I guess he's like a classically trained actor, like Shakespearean actor. And you can kind of tell that in some of those scenes as well. Like he knows how to like chew scenery, but in the right way.
Yes.
He's
layered.
Yeah.
There's a lot of layers to his performance. I read in the trivia too. You may have read it as well, that like he purposely chose to change up his accent in between scenes just enough to where he just to increase his insanity. Like he can't even sound the same all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. I do. I love. It's just a fun character.
And a fun performance.
Yeah. Just he's the big bad, and he nails it.
Yeah.
You watch it, and you're like, this guy's crazy, which is a testament to the acting. Because...
and the way he gets his eyes to bulge out of his head.
Right,
which I'm sure was him. What a trooper given that performance.
Nice job.
My last good is
it just reminds me like George Miller has him do it, and he's not happy with how he bulged his eyes. So he's like, I could do it again, Jack. He just keeps bulging his eyes out like Dirk Diggler. I can do it again, Jack.
Wasn't expecting a Boogie Nights reference.
I wasn't either, but like how he bulged his eyes out,
I got that lady over here who plays Large Marge.
Right? I'm sure it's him, and I'm like, I just see him like, that we'll fix it later. We'll fix it later. I can't, whatever his name is. But he's like, do it again, George. Oh.
I got Paul Bear standing by. Get it together, Hugh.
Exactly.
Oh, my last good is we mentioned this a little bit before, but just the vagueness of the setting and just kind of where civilization's at, and like it's something bad has happened or is happening, but they're not overt about it. And again, like the crumbling halls of justice is probably the best the best image of that. How it's the facilities downtrodden, their cruiser garage is basically just like a parking garage that they've converted.
Right.
There's just cars and parts strewn about everywhere. Their offices have nothing in them. There's very little equipment. And so, like something bad's happening here. Like these.
Yeah, it's not like it's. Go ahead.
I say like motorcycle gangs like this don't just pop up like that in everyday society. Like they don't go and marauder towns.
Right.
So something bad is happening here, and there's very little responsibility. There's very little institutional pillars out there to kind of keep society in check. And so Oz, go ahead.
Yeah, it's just to kind of touch on the halls of justice reference, like it doesn't look like an abandoned building that they moved into. It looks like a bombed building that they're still using. Like at one point they're walking through the frame, and like the walls literally are not there. Like you see crumbled brick. So it's where they're at, but you get, like you said, that this is close enough to when it all happened, but yet far enough that like something really bad went down to cause this level of where they're at, and yet everybody's still trying to hold on to normalcy the best they can.
Yep, and it's slipping away.
Yeah.
So Oz, what are your two bads?
My first bad is the continuity errors in Jesse's rundown scene. And it's because I just paid too much attention to it. Jesse's car breaks down. May says, I'll fight these guys off. And Jesse takes off with the baby and starts running down the middle of the road. The biker gang runs her down. And then Max is immediately on the scene. Like, May is still standing behind the car. These the biker gang they're on their motorcycles. And Max hasn't even made it back to the farm yet when they run her down, but yet he's right there. Like, May is still sobbing. She's still behind the car. She's made no effort to go down to see if Jesse's okay. Like, it just, you get the feel that it happened right now. And the Oafish guy is right there with Max. Now, I know we've joked about the aerodynamics of speed running, but, like, these two, they're just there. Like, immediately they're right there.
Yeah.
We don't see,
you can't see the farm in the background. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, we get the illusion that Jesse made it far enough away before she had to have gone far enough away before the car overheated.
Yeah.
Because cars don't overheat at start. So she's gotten far enough away the car overheated. The biker gang catches up. We see them, when we see them in the rearview mirror, they are in the distance of where Jesse is. They come up, they run her down. Max shows up immediately. And then when Max realizes where they are, it feels like he's running nearly like 3/4 of a mile down the road. But yet, when we saw Jesse and the baby get run over, they weren't that far away from the car. It's just, and again, it's extremely nitpicky. But it just, having seen this movie a few times in the past, watching it this time for the podcast, I paid a little bit more attention.
Yeah.
And it just felt like, the scene was huge and dramatic and essential to what was about to happen. But there was just enough of like, when did this go down? How did he get there so fast? How far away was she when it actually happened? It just because when he took off running after her, he's running and running and running and running before he gets to her. It's like she didn't appear to have gotten that far from the car, but she did. So that's my first bad. It's just whatever. And my second is the beginning of the movie. Like, they're chasing Knight Rider down for killing a cop, like killing one of them. And they're on hot pursuit, chasing a cop killer, and they're just so blasé about it. They're cracking jokes. Like, at one point, when Goose, he puts his motorcycle down and kind of slides under a truck, and the guy in the truck's like, "What's going on here?" He goes, "You tell me, I just got here." It's like, there's just quick-witted little jokes, which it's fun. Like, but you guys are chasing down a cop killer. Like, you don't, like, there just didn't seem this sense of dread.
Yeah, no urgency.
Of what they're like, oh man, he got away. And maybe they were just relying on, well, we've still got Max will get him,
They got Phil a while ago, but
right. Yes, and so but again, we get the sense too that in this future, you killed one of ours, we killed one of yours, we're even.
Yeah.
Like they killed, Knight Rider, and then just go back to the precinct to check out the interceptor. Like, all in a day's work. There's no reference, and apparently the cop's body is still just laying wherever, because that's what they do in this movie too. If it's a dead body, you just leave it in the field.
Well, and again, also, I think, and I doubt that the filmmakers were intending this, but like the lack of skill in these cops, like they're they're scraping the bottom of the barrel for people.
Oh yeah,
to work.
These are I'm surprised like Steve Guttenberg and Tackleberry weren't part of this crew. They're very
untrained, unprofessional. They don't know what they're doing. Right. I doubt Fifi's been able to run them through a full academy training regime.
Yeah, Hightower would have been fine. I think Hightower would have been more than...
Yeah.
But yeah, for the rest of them, no.
Imagine this movie with Tackleberry in it. Tackleberry is Mad Max's partner.
One of my favorite jokes from the Police Academy series is Tackleberry. I don't remember which one it was, but they've got some new recruits and they're in the back of a van and they've got a body bag there. And Hightower is pretending to be like this voodoo priest. And as I know, I'm pretty sure it's David Spade as one of the cadets. But he starts going through like his voodoo priest ritual thing. And a chainsaw fires up inside the body bag and cuts the body bag open. The cadets run off. Well, it's Tackleberry in a hockey mask. And they come out of the van and he takes off the hockey mask. And then Steve Guttenberg looks at him and goes, "You could take your mask off, Tack." And as a kid, I never understood that joke. I just didn't understand it. And then eventually it clicked on, oh, it's because he's ugly. It just
and he just doesn't know what to make of it.
No. And he just, I think Tackleberry, even like when he says that to him, he just kind of looks at the mask in his hand and like he didn't get the joke.
But I did take it off.
Police Academy movies, in my opinion, are very underrated. I mean, there's a reason why they made so many of them, and they are very 80s
because
movies.
People want. I mean, it's just dumb. It's just silly fun.
Just dumb,
silly.
Dumb fun.
Yeah,
absolutely. And we wouldn't have Michael Winslow in Spaceballs if we didn't.
That's true.
Academy.
Yeah, yeah. It all.
Who else would have given us the beeps, the bleeps, and the creeps? All right. Those are my two bads.
Yeah.
Back to the apocalypse. What are your two bads?
My two bads. Some of the plot points early in the film are kind of hard to follow. Like I had to check Wikipedia for some of the stuff early on. You know, like how they kind of bribed Max with the car. Like I wouldn't have put two together. Yeah. Like I had to. Right. I read that in Wikipedia.
Well, and honestly, I did too. Even when Fifi and the suit were talking about it upstairs, it wasn't real direct. Like the suit's like, I don't like wasting money, and then he puts on like a fencing helmet and walks down the stairs. Yeah. It was just,
it was kind of hard to follow at the beginning. And,
right. Yeah. I agree.
So like, yeah. So I mean, I guess that's my first one. The other one is the Jessie character is. I find her arc to be kind of problematic. There's a very, very infamous comic book run in the mid-'90s from a Green Lantern book. And the original Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, had become a bad guy, so they got this new guy. Kyle Rayner is the new Green Lantern. And
Max Rockatansky.
Yes, Max Rockatansky is the Green Lantern.
That's the only reason you're talking about it now.
Yes,
it ties in.
It does. It's Max Rockatansky. That's how he cleans up the halls of justice.
He's got, I heard you guys have a Hall of Justice.
I got a lantern.
Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
So this new guy is Green Lantern, and they establish that he has a girlfriend, and he's like tracking this serial killer down or something, and the serial killer finds out where his girlfriend lives, and Green Lantern, shows up to his girlfriend's place and opens the refrigerator, and her dead body is in the refrigerator. And so, like, that sort of spawned this like comic book narrative term called fridging, when you have a female character with absolutely no agency other than to propel the male character's story.
Gotcha.
And so I kind of felt like Jessie got fridged a little bit here. Like the only reason she's around is to propel Max's story.
Right. Yeah, we need her here so she can die.
It's
Max can lose it.
Max can't become mad without this tragedy. And so Jessie, we're gonna
just irritated for a while. Yeah. Irritated Max. You see George Miller's new flick, Irritated Max 2, The Road Warrior.
Annoyed Max.
Right.
But so I just kind of felt like Jessie got fridged there. I mean, and like this, the beach and like the wood scenes were fun and whatnot. Yeah. But like,
it's suspenseful.
But they didn't really. It didn't add to her. Like, there's no arc with her.
No. She's Max's wife.
She's there.
I mean, that's it.
She's there to die.
Right.
Yeah. So
and to get ice cream. As you're talking about the fridge scene from the comic, it made me think about because they do that in movies sometimes too. Mm-hmm. Friday the 13th Part 2 being very infamous, the opening scene. Of course, at the end of Part 1, Alice, our final girl, beheads Pamela Voorhees. And at the beginning of part 2, when Jason has found where Alice lives, Alice opens the refrigerator and sees Pamela Voorhees' head in the fridge. And that's just one of many movies where you find something in the freezer, the refrigerator. When the killer does something like that, I mean, I'm picturing the pre-scene of them rearranging fridge items to make room.
like I gotta take out this tray of ice cubes.
Right. Oh, what am I gonna? Or in the case you're saying, where like her entire body is in the refrigerator, like where did he put the shelves? Yeah. The food that was in there, like, did he take him with him? Like,
who needs 2 containers of large curd cottage cheese? I mean, really.
On. You know, so that was just, I kind of smiled because I was envisioning that of like, prior to placing the body, when he has to empty the fridge, like rearranging shelves, we've got water, purple stuff, Sunny D, moving all that to the side.
I mean, in addition to having to mourn his dead girlfriend, he's got to go back to the store now.
He's got to go grocery shopping.
He just made a Costco run.
Or does the killer leave all that stuff sitting on the counter and the table?
No, he's got to clean it. I don't remember leaving these fish sticks out.
Like, whenever he brought the body to the house in, he now loads that same bag with all the groceries. I'm going to get you twice. Not only are you going to mourn your loved one, but now you have all the room in your fridge for all these casseroles people are going to bring you.
He's hauling this black zipper bag filled with produce out to his car. I did not think this through well. Oh, who would have thought cabbage would have weighed this much? Now my car smells like day old bananas.
Half these condiments are passed. Throw them out. just slung over his shoulder, like, ugh. It's the price of It's the price of putting dead bodies in a fridge. Like, you gotta really
think this through.
I'm seeing, like, what was the name of whatever the new Green Lantern character I'm seeing him, like, instantly, like, mourning the loss of his girlfriend, and then eventually processing, kind of how Jesse processed, like, as she calmed down. Oh my God, the baby. He's processing. Oh my God, my leftovers.
I was just going to go there. Like, you just went to some fancy steakhouse the night before. I had half
I was counting on that.
I had half a filet left.
That was the main reason of going to the fridge to begin with. Went to the refrigerator to get the leftovers and finds a dead body. No! My mashed potatoes.
Oh God. Oh, we're both crying.
And this is the crying portion of our podcast, folks.
That brings us to our one What's your for 1979's Mad Max?
Jesse's dumb idea to get away by running directly down the middle of the road. like, what are you thinking? You've got, like, open fields on both sides, and motorcycles don't drive well in fields. As we've seen because of all of the crashed motorcycles off into a field. And she gets away by just running down the middle of the road.
Yep.
Again, further cementing the fact that she's there to be fridged.
Yep.
But made no effort to hide or anything. You know, just whatever. You know, like, she needed to for Max's story arc. But that's my hum. Like, that's your getaway technique, Jesse?
Yeah. Run down the middle of the road.
They'll never catch me running down the middle of the road.
I mean, she's no Peter Horton.
No, that's just it. And granted, she was carrying the baby, so yes, she was reducing the amount of arm usage, but she was adding mass to her frame. Yeah. So, yeah, it was a recipe for disaster.
Just like those old mashed potatoes in the fridge.
I do. I just picture him like, oh, man, what a hard day of Green Lanterning. I've been waiting for the rest of this mostaccioli.
These enchiladas are going to warm up great. Oh, no.
Really? No! Oh. Even funnier, the first reaction was because the enchiladas were gone. Why did she crawl in here and eat all the enchiladas?
Oh, wait a second.
Don't you know you can't?
You don't have to eat it in the fridge.
Right. Warm them up. Oh, wait, she's dead. Oh, no. Double whammy. Now I got to go get food.
And warn my girlfriend on an empty stomach.
File a police. I'll go file a police report after I run to In-N-Out real quick.
Oh, you can't grieve with an empty tum-tum.
No, not at all.
Oh, my!
Like your glasses are.
They are. I'm completely
fogged.
I'm completely fogged up. I can't see. Oh my god. Oh, my as I go glasses free here for the last bit. My is the young couple in the town earlier in the film. I don't think they'd been spotted, and they get in the car and drive away and call attention to themselves. They could have just stayed there, and they would have been fine.
Yeah. I mean, in fleeing the town, Toecutter was there, so he may have discovered them. But again, they're just doing a really bad job of hiding.
Yeah. Well, and they
get in your car and hide in your car.
Yeah. And they like peel out and make this big.
They make a big spectacle. Yeah.
You're never gonna catch us, bike gang.
See you later, you bikers.
I don't think they saw where we went.
Right. Get in, Julia. We gotta get out of here. Yeah, they did. Because he's like, get in quick. Like, they're being real quiet.
Yeah.
And then gun it to escape.
Whispering to each other. I don't think they've seen it.
Fishtailing on their way out of town. Oh, man.
So, that's Mad Max, folks.
That's Mad Max. That is week 1 of Mad Max May, where we are going to be bringing you the entire Mad Max series. As long as I don't think there's plans to release a 5th one by the end of May. But even if they do, we won't cover it. There's only 4 weeks. And so, yeah, that's it. That's Mad Max 1979's Mel Gibson starring George Miller. George Miller, and I love that too about George Miller. If you look at his filmography, dude is all over the place.
Babe the Pig.
He made Happy Feet, that animated penguin movie. It's just
whatever he feels like doing.
What he's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the Mad Max series is kind of his comfort zone. That's his security blanket. That's what put him on the map, and that's what's kept him on the map. But he's just an awesome filmmaker. And so podcast wise, you know where to find us: YouTube, etc., Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We don't share much, but we do keep things updated. So if there's anything you'd like to share with us, we'd love to hear from you. As you could probably tell, we have a lot of fun doing what we do, but we'd love to hear feedback from you guys as well. So whether you send us, a message or an email or however, reviews, etc., we do love response from our listeners and viewers.
Yeah, if you found your dead significant other in your fridge, what leftover would you be disappointed also missing?
Right. Yeah. Which leftover would be as near equivalent to losing a loved one in your fridge?
I had a nearly full container of Popeye's mac and cheese.
All that we had bought all that Boston Market. What would be, obviously I don't want to find out in reality.
Yeah.
But what leftover item would you be most remiss to have found missing and replaced?
I think like a good piece of meat, like a good steak or a good pork chop, because it's not often that I go out and treat myself to something like that.
Fair enough.
What about you?
It would be probably some sort of dessert, something that I know will keep, and I because obviously like a steak or pork chop, they taste best the first time.
Yeah.
They taste fine and reheated if you do it correctly. But for me, it would be some sort of like dessert that had we had extra of, and then I'm like, it's dessert time, and then oh no, tragedy has struck twice.
Tragedy has struck, and my significant other's dead.
I know. I open the door, I see them, I gasp, and then I start looking around for the dessert. Did they have the decency of leaving it here? No. Oh, what do we have next week?
Next week, we've got Mad Max 2, known in America as The Road Warrior.
Yeah, it's the sequel to the movie we just watched.
Yes,
correct?
if you had not guessed that, yes.
Right. It's not a partnership. But yeah, and this movie is even more apocalyptic.
Yes.
And it's even more off the wall and even more fun.
Oh, yeah.
And and that's one thing that's really cool about how this series plays out too, because these Mad Max movies are not made like your standard film series fare, where like they're getting churned out one every year or so. You know, these are a little bit more spaced out. Mm-hmm. Obviously, because from Mad Max all the way to Fury Road, I mean, we're looking at decades apart. But it's fun to see the storyline of the subplot. It's not a storyline, but the subplot of civilization going further and further and further into the toilet as these movies play out. To where, at least in this movie, we've got buildings, we've got businesses, we've got they talk about vacation, but by the time we get to Thunderdome and Fury Road,
society is gone.
Yeah, it's like we have water. That's our motivation. But yeah, that's it for this week. We of course will be back next week to cover Mad Max 2: The Road Warrior, also starring Mr. Mel Gibson. And so it's been a very long time. I have not seen that one as much as I've seen Mad Max. So it'll be a nice review of a movie it's been a while for. So for Let's Talk About Flicks, I am Oz.
And I am Curtis.
And we will hope to share our time with you again next week. Take care, everyone.